Iowa is moving on to the Elite Eight. Caitlin Clark showed out yet again, scoring a game-high 29 points to go along with 15 assists and an 89-68 win over Colorado. The Hawkeyes are now set for a national championship game rematch. That will be on Monday against LSU. And we are now joined by CBS Sports women's college hoops writer Isabel Gonzalez as the stage is officially set for the Elite Eight on the women's side. And let's begin with this Iowa team who rolled past Colorado, their fourth straight win over the Buffaloes, who they beat in last year's Sweet 16 en route to their first national championship appearance. But this stop was much different than their prior matchup where the Hawkeyes escaped that potential upset against West Virginia with more of a comfortable win this time around. But what was different for the Hawkeyes on Saturday against Colorado?
Here's the thing. I think Iowa is a very talented team, but one of their biggest issues this season has been relying on Caitlin Clark a little bit too much. But in this game, all 5 starters scored in double digits. So I think when you have that depth, it just helps you a ton. If there's any foul trouble, if someone's having a bad shooting night, it doesn't matter because you have other players scoring. So that was the biggest difference for me.
Yeah, I mean, they're relying on probably one of their best player, if not the best player in women's hoops. But meanwhile, in the other Albany 2 matchup, UCLA was leading the defending national champs by 3 points with under 3 minutes left in the game. But then they're unable to get stops and find themselves falling to LSU by 9. But LSU managed to get this one despite that outside noise surrounding their head coach, Kim Mulkey, with that Washington Post piece that debuted on Saturday. But how was this team able to shut out that noise and pick up their coach?
I think they're just very mentally strong, and even from the beginning of the season, they've kind of heard a lot of noise surrounding them with all the locker room drama and stuff, and they've just kind of come together in a different way. They lost their season opener to Colorado, and after that, they started really bouncing back. It was kind of a wake-up call. So I think they're pretty strong, especially with Kim Mulkey. If you think about it, she's one of those coaches that she's just herself, and I think her team's kind of like that too. Just shut the outside noise.
Yeah, her team is a representation of her. Very tough, very knows what she wants and knows how to get it. So it's kind of comes full circle for this team. But you know what this makes for, right, Isabel? A rematch of the 2023 National Championship. The Hawkeyes and the Tigers again. But I think it's unfortunate that we can't see one of these teams with a chance to extend their season further because they very well, I think, have the potential to maybe be one of those last 2 teams standing. But Iowa looking to avenge themselves after falling short last year. This is a new season, a new opportunity. But I want to get your take. How do you see these 2 teams matching up this time around with a trip to the Final Four on the line?
I agree. That's really tough that we have to watch them in the Elite Eight versus the championship game. But I think it should match up really well. I feel like Caitlin Clark especially is going to come with a vengeance. But the difference is that Iowa, they struggle. Like last year, it was because of foul trouble. Caitlin Clark was in foul trouble. And the team had a little bit of that, but not as much as like today's game, right? All 5 scorers score in double digits. If they can do that against LSU, that's a whole different game. And then LSU, yes, we talk about injuries all the time, but let's talk about Flau'jae Johnson. I think she's going to be another one to watch. And for this game, I think the team that's going to win is going to be the one not with the biggest star having the best night, but who has the other players, other starters, or even from the bench, who has the best night overall.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this game, and you talk about some of those superstars, some of those names, but just looking at this matchup, just imagining all that hype that we saw last year coming into that national championship game, what do you think this game means for women's college hoops?
It's incredible. This whole weekend, I've just heard so much about the women's games, not just this matchup, but, all the others. But these are 2 programs that have really honestly put women's basketball not on the map, but on a brighter spotlight, because you got Caitlin Clark breaking the all-time scoring record, not just for women's, but for men's as well. And I think LSU, obviously, they won the championship last year. Andrew Reese is such a strong athlete and such a strong figure. Kim Mulkey, also, another coach that you kind of look at, not just, because of what people are saying or, controversies, but also just because of her resume. She's a very good coach. Yeah. So these are 2 teams that are really, really fun to watch overall, and it's great that we get to watch both of them together.
Okay, well, teams who have been to the pinnacle to maybe one that hasn't in 3 decades. USC overcoming Baylor and advancing to the Elite Eight for the first time in 30 years. And much credit to the freshman, Juju Watkins, who led the way with 30 points on the night, adding in 6 boards, 4 blocked shots, and 4 assists. We've seen her have some of those big outings in just her first season, but she averages about 27 points a game. Looking at what she means to this Trojans team, how crucial do you think she'll be to their success? And do you think that she might be that X factor that could push them to the Final Four?
Absolutely. The Trojans had a great year last season, and Lindsay has been doing a great job just kind of turning the program around in such a short amount of time. But they really leveled up with Juju Watkins. There's no doubt about that. And she's going to have a great game. But again, I think it's also going to come down to who steps up. And I think Mackenzie Forbes is going to be one of those that you kind of got to watch out for. Yeah, she's had some really solid games since the Pac-12 tournament. So it's just, Mackenzie Forbes and Juju Watkins together, they're kind of unstoppable. And Watkins is also so level-headed for being a freshman. She's just so cool, calm, and collected, and that's going to be huge for USC.
Seems so mature, and just thinking about how she's just a freshman and how great she can be. You're already seeing her name along some of those other greats that play the game. But I want to talk also about some of those other names, because rounding out the Elite Eight, the Huskies got off to a big second-half lead against Duke and didn't look back. Despite the Bulldogs, they started threatening late, but Yukon rolls and now will face USC in the Elite Eight. Now, considering I talk about these names, what we know about this Huskies team and how great of a player Paige Bueckers is, how do you think the Huskies will match up with the aforementioned Watkins and the Trojans?
That should be another really great game. I think these are two teams that really know how to just get the win no matter, the struggles throughout the game. And I mean, I know I've been talking about how other players need to step up, not just the star player, but for Yukon, it is very much like the strength is going to be Paige Bueckers really playing a little bit more selfish than she had during the regular season. I think even Dawn Staley, South Carolina's head coach Dawn Staley, talked about that Paige has so much potential she is already a superstar, but to be talked about more this season. And she's a great shooter. I think today showed that she can really step up. And she showed that in a couple other games too. And she always just kind of plays more quietly than we would like her to. But I feel like this is a perfect chance for her to just take the spotlight over. It's going to be really fun to see who gets it, Paige Bueckers or Juju Watkins.
You talk about the spotlight. It's going to be a lot of really great talent spotlighted in the Elite Eight and the women's side. It's going to be a lot of fun. How sweet it was. Well, how sweet it was, actually. And now it's time for the Elite. Isabel, buckle up. This is going to be fun. Thanks so much for the time. And taking a look at what lies ahead for the women's Elite Eight Sunday slate. Number 3, Oregon State taking on number 1, South Carolina. South Carolina 35-0 this season, looking to remain undefeated and actually to become the 5th school in D1 history with an undefeated national championship season. That'll take place on Sunday at 1 Eastern on ABC. They're currently a 15.5-point favorite for the Gamecocks. Then following up at 3 Eastern, NC State taking on 1 seed Texas. It's going to be a fun series of matchups as the Elite Eight rolls on the women's side.